Mina Kimes, one of the biggest fans of the Houston Texans this offseason, not thrilled with something that they've been doing the first couple of games. Here she is on NFL Live before Monday Night Football.
For himself. I mean, Houston got the win, but there was something that frustrated you when you watched this game. I'm a fan of Bobby Slowik. I think he's a good play caller. I'm going to need him to stop lighting first down on fire, which is, I try not to be dogmatic about early down runs. Sometimes they make sense, pardon me, and there's a sequencing aspect to it. But going into this game, we talked about this last week. The Bears defense is excellent against the run. So it's not surprising they averaged 2.6 yards per carry on first down, and they ran it over and over and over. You're putting your quarterback behind way too much for my taste, which, by the way, this was an issue last year as well, and it continues to be an issue.
I mean, it was something that stood out last year that they would run the ball pretty consistently on first down. But when you have the success that you have in week one, I don't have that reaction to week two.
Are you supposed to, in week two, assume that you're not going to have the same success you did week one because you're going up against a good run defense? And this is an honest question. I actually don't know, because I think some people subscribe to the idea that we're going to run our game plan no matter what, and others are going to attack you based off of where they think your weaknesses are. I guess in 2024, where we look at the Houston Texans and we see a team that, at least on paper, is capable of beating you by throwing or running, I think you would try to attack where this defense is weak. But given the way that the offensive line has not really been protecting C.J. Stroud, what happens on first down if it's an incompletion? What happens on first down if it's a sack? And yeah, the Texans found themselves in a lot of third down situations, and they weren't able to get out of all of them like they were able to do in week one. So maybe it is a little bit better if they're throwing on first down and second down. But I don't know. The way that the pass protection has been these first 2 weeks, the thing that bothers me sometimes about the NFL's analytical community is that there's an assumption that if you do something other than running on first down, you are going to get more yards every single time. And that's just not the case. Sometimes these plays are going to result in losses, where a run on first down, yes, boring and not creative, generally is going to get you at least 2 yards.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like you're spot on there, where there's just they have this assumption that whether it's a screen pass or a slant or just something easy, not saying you have to chuck it down the field on first down, but like it's just automatically going to have a better result because that's what the nerdy numbers tell you. I just that's where I think analytics, where the media views it very clearly differently than the people on the field and in the locker rooms and in the coaching meetings. We're like in baseball, I think we're all kind of on the same page with like advanced analytics, and we're like, everyone's just like, hey, just getting on base is important. Home runs and strikeouts are fine. It's better than a single, all that stuff. But in football, I think there's a reason why you haven't seen people going for two all the time, going for on fourth down all the time. That's what the numbers will tell you you're supposed to do. But there's a reason why no one does it. And there's a reason why no one just completely abandons the run game on first down when it's not working, because the numbers tell you to do that.
The numbers are valuable to what you're saying. I think the problem is that there's so many variables on a football field, 22 different variables. And then there's so many given plays over the course of a game, where in baseball, I mean, for an at-bat, it's two. It's the pitcher and it's the hitter. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. And of course, where it goes and all that stuff, who's a good fielder and all that.
You never know when the umpire, so you know.
You're right. There can be three variables from time to time. But yeah, it's weird. There is a sort of militant faith that some of the most vocal, analytically wired minds on social media talk about football. And it is, as you heard from Mina there, a little bit dogmatic. And I feel like you can't approach it thinking like this is the only way. And I think that the Texas pass protection's been an issue these first 2 weeks. You know, it's been the biggest issue on offense through 2 weeks. He's been sacked 7 times thus far. You know, multiply that by what? 8.5, right? What are we talking about here? We're talking about 60+ sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, yes, it makes more sense to throw from time to time against a good Bears defense. But what happens if he's getting sacked? What happens if he's getting hit a little bit more? Sometimes the running game, as boring as it is and uncreative as it is, the safe bet is sometimes okay.
Well, and look what happened the rest of the game. That's why it's always game by game, because you can say, like, yes, like it makes things easier. But what were the end results of the game besides the sacks? Well, Tank Dell was ineffective and not able to do much in this game. Stephon Diggs was largely ineffective in this game. Dalton Schultz was largely ineffective in this game. So besides Nico Collins, what worked for the Texans offense in week 2? They scored 3 points in the second half. Kyrie Fairbairn has had to hit 650+ yard field goals through 2 games.
Literally a record.
So the idea that the frustration of just he runs the ball too much, I just don't see it. If the offense was clicking and CJ Stroud and these guys were just moving the ball up and down the field and they kept giving the ball to Joe Mixon on first down or Cam Akers or Dameon Pierce and they were getting nothing and they were making life much more difficult for the Texans, but they were still having great success, I would say, yeah, like you have a problem here. But I think it's too early in the season to be complaining about that. Also, you're comparing last year to it was CJ Stroud's rookie year. You don't want to put all the pressure on him last year.
I will say, though, if you can't run the ball and now it's 2nd and 9, guess what? You're putting pressure on your quarterback to drop back for 2 plays. Yes. and now the defense knows you're throwing.
Yeah,
that's true.
So part of it is you have to be able to run the ball, to run it on first down, and it makes sense. If you're just doing halfback dive just to do it, it's normally not. That's actually worse for you.
I get what you're saying, but sometimes the running back dive is better than an incomplete pass or a sack. And that's what bothers me about the people that say, oh, well, you shouldn't run on first down ever. It's like, well, what happens when you fail on first down?
Yeah, I'm not saying you should never run on first down. I'm just saying that when you can't run and you have a good quarterback,
totally agree.
Throw it.
There's a hyperbolistic way with which some of those people will talk about it, where it is the assumption that running on first down is always dumb, and that's overstating it. But that's how they communicate it, and I think that's why there's as much pushback against those who are nerdy on that side of things, because they're kind of like with the left in certain ways, a little bit dickish with how they are pushing their mindset on you. Like if it's the only way you should think. Like if they were actually a little bit more engaging, I think more people would actually embrace it.
Yeah, it's like it is like the analytics and politics a lot of times. Like people miss the gray area. They miss the middle. Like it's always you must do this all the time.
And if you're not, you're an idiot.
Yes.
Instead of just saying like, why not this?
Yeah. Like now does Bobby Slowik proportionally, like I was just like trying to quickly go through it, but there were so many possessions in this game. If you look at their first, 7 possessions or 7 first downs in the first quarter, they only threw on 2 of them. So proportionately, that is pretty extreme to run the ball on 5 of the 7 first downs. One of those was the reverse to Tank Dell, which they got 14 yards. But so proportionally, like, yeah, maybe you want to get closer to 50-50, but that's also not what's being said here. It's just like, it does come off as the vibe of just, hey, stop running.
What's funny is though, that they run it twice more, then totally different conversation, So it's weird. It's a weird thing to nitpick, but hey, that's what they do. And it's nice to have people keeping the Houston Texans honest, with a little battle red pill.